Hello, everyone. My name is Brent Barlow, and this is Bluelight Daily, a discussion of relevance and import. We are broadcasting on this Friday, January 2nd, 2026. It is 12 noon local, 2000 Zulu, 8 p.m. GMT. Happy New Year to all. This is the first broadcast of 2026, a year ripe with potential and promise. And with that, we honor the importance of public debate and the requirement of civility, the necessity of education and the strength of knowledge, the value of coming together and the power of collaboration. Before we begin, we pause to reflect and focus on our purpose, breathing in deeply, aligning with intention, dreaming the I'm possible, assisted by ancestors, powered by providence, rooted in reverence. The word spoken, the path clear, the way cool. Let us remember the dream forgotten. Let us build what is worthy. Let's make some magic together. Now, Ashe Madase, Madase. Today's word of the day is apropos. Apropos is used as a preposition to mean with regard to, but more often it is used as an adjective describing a thing as either suitable or appropriate or the right thing. Oh, look back! The day in history. On January 2nd, 1965, quarterback Joe Namath signed a contract with the American Football League's New York Jets for a reported $427,000, the most lucrative contract signed by a rookie in any sport at the time. Broadway Joe was a star at the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, where he played for the legendary Bear Bryant, although Alabama did lose yesterday. Also, after defeating the incumbent two-term Democrat Pat Brown by nearly 1 million votes, Ronald Reagan, the one-time actor who became a major figure in conservative Republican politics, was sworn in as governor of California on January 2nd, 1967. That means that he was the governor when I was born. President Reagan provides us today with our quote of the day. Quote, "You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness." Ladies and gentlemen, this broadcast is intended to serve as a platform to talk, share, learn, and grow. We are building a community at La Bella Bee where we see it as apropos that our quote today refers to a rendezvous with destiny, because together we can rise to the challenge of the moment and fearlessly face a future better by contributing to create a world worthy of our children. And so here I speak directly and honestly, sharing a vision for a world secure for generations to come. It's about we, not me. Issues of concern multiply exponentially while being largely ignored across the globe, demanding attention, requiring action. In light of the greed and glut that permeates, the volume of capacity that exists, the promise of future technological inevitabilities, we can either accept the same or we can make a different choice and take collective action. And so I offer my take on current conditions and where I think we're headed. One question has to be, what scab do I need to pick to provoke a response? We'll just have to wait and see. Point of personal privilege. Welcome to 2026. I wish everyone here health, wealth, prosperity in all things in the year to come and beyond. Personal admission, I stand here today 1 year after having declared that 2025 would be the best year of our lives. I'm not too sure that in retrospect, I can say that where the rubber meets the road, the year quite lived up to the marketing. But such is life. Now, I've already said that you have to know me and all of me if there is to be trust between us. I've also accepted that certain facts may come to light about me or my past, and all I can really say about that is c'est la vie. I am who I am. I've told you that this is akin to creating my record had I been a politician. Funny thing, though, is I think I figured out how to accomplish all the things that I wanted to accomplish or wanted to become a politician to accomplish. But I don't have to deal with the bullshit. So a recap of 2025. First, a piece of shit lawsuit that had been filed against me and several others that I'd been dealing with for some time finally got dismissed. That was great. Okay. But right out the gate, my father was diagnosed with some heavy duty cancer. And I was at the time had been working with a close group of friends, or I'd been working closely with a group of friends on a project known as Nexus Media Group. You can see that at nexusmediagroup.us. And as with most things, it takes longer and it costs more than you plan for. And so, hey, we could have done a better job of planning. Decisions were made, delays occurred, business reality set in, economic strains, increases stress, priority shift, additional decisions need to be made. That all makes for a nice and spicy year. And then, my father declines and passes, the holidays, and here we are. So here we are. I'll tell you first, again, since I'm still rolling on my personal privilege, that the holidays were as good as they could have been, given the state of affairs as existed in that. I mean, he passed November 24th, and we celebrate Christmas on December 24th. So we had made a commitment to one another to gift each other handmade gifts that came from our own intention. And I can't tell you how incredible a gift it was to be surrounded by love instead of consumerism. You don't know me, but Christmas is a thing. Giving is, I do it without thinking, and too often it's about what am I getting versus what am I giving. And this really focused on the giving part. And it just, one personal note, the gifts I got from all of my children were incredible. And Juliana Violet, the incredible, whom I've told you about before, wrote me a song, which I probably couldn't read right now without crying. I certainly couldn't get through the whole thing without crying. But it was something that we had decided to did, and will be doing in the future. I highly recommend it. It's a pretty cool deal. And then we have had this Christmas, and I personally got away for a few days, and I got to tell you, it was rough to feel the feelings. But again, as Sensei Gary Fisher says, you got to go through it, and I'm going through it. And I'm, again, blessed with a lot of love and support around me, which I'm grateful to be able to feel and appreciate and avail myself of. And we decided that today we would broadcast, even though it's Friday, it is the first broadcast day of the new year. So what we've decided to do is broadcast on Facebook and TikTok. Unfortunately, I thought we were all set up. It turns out TikTok requires some additional hurdles, I guess, and it wasn't ready when I went, which was why I was a little late today, but be that as it may. Today, for the balance of time, I'm going to talk about the vision. And, the quote I chose from Ronald Reagan is about being at a precipice, at a crossroad, at a decision point, an inflection point, and being faced with a decision. It might be appropriate to, I don't think it would be inappropriate to characterize it as significant, as weighty. We've talked about for many weeks here about the concentration of wealth, the concentration of power, the decline of civility in public discourse. And again, I'm going to hold off on anything that's too overwhelming because I want to talk about what we're building as far as our community goes. But there is a lot of stuff going on around the world. We have to prioritize. We filter it out. We numb ourselves with whatever intoxicant might be handy. And I don't exclude food, devices, gaming, sex, alcohol, booze, whatever. But we are individuals who have the right and power to choose. And having made a decision that we can have a better world together, what we are doing here at La Bella Bee is building community. And you can think of it this way. Everything that can be done in real life, IRL, can be largely simulated and facilitated and empowered with available technologies. I've spoken about umpteen times how all of these tech companies, these data behavior, I forgot what the term is, but these data refinement factories are leveraging us who are subjecting ourselves and allowing this to happen. We're getting a certain benefit from it. We've talked about my actions are driven by what I'm getting from it. Okay, so again, all these things tie together. And that's why I've mentioned a lot of the stuff, why I'm going to continue to mention ideas like this. Education. Education is critical. Education is important. So one of the first things I do in the real world, if I could, is I would have Alexandra. I would have build the biggest library known to man. And pieces and parts of it exist today, but tell me where I'm wrong, please. If you're out there and you know something I don't, which maybe you do, I don't know where there is a place where I can access basically the wealth of human knowledge without fear of copyright infringement and kill all the lawyers. First thing we do. Again, I'm a lawyer. I would have a library because education is important, knowledge is power, and I would make it super simple to access. So I'll insert here an example from science fiction where, call it artificial intelligence, technology, whatever, serves up anything you need. Step up, sir, madam. How may I be of service? It removes the hurdle, the hindrance to access. Now, hey, we've got Google searches and we've got coming online an AI-powered browser that these companies are charging us either dollars as a paywall, you'll hear that term, or two, by exploiting our information and our behavior, our patterns, everything that makes us vulnerable to exploitation. Personally, neither of those are very acceptable to me. And so I want to, again, take the technology that exists, that they're doing with it right now, reclaim it for us so that we can do all these things in our community for our mutual benefit, build a creative economy. It's a huge thing to do, but I would start with a library. So that's one of the first things we're going to build in this community is a library. I'm going to just wax for a minute about the economics of this, not the technical investment dollars required. I'm talking how this thing is going to help you, help me, help us. Again, I've said, I'm not proposing anything new or whiz banger or this is something so incredible. I've got the new mousetrap, I guess. I'm not so audacious as to claim this is brand new right here, right now. This is come see me. What I'm saying is we recognize an action is required and I am going to begin taking it. If you agree, come join me. So the economics of this thing include basically right now, there are companies that are, I don't know if exploiting us is appropriate because they're facilitating for us, but there are companies built around our creative effort, user-generated content, and the creative process, whatever it is. And you can log into Redbubble, you can log into T Republic, and look to their parent company to see that that business alone generates tens of millions of dollars. I don't even know because truth of the matter is it may be hundreds because it's been so long since I looked at those numbers. But Etsy, another platform, huge company, grown. God bless them. I begrudge no person an honest wage, but the only evidence that we need to look at is the grotesque concentration of wealth and how much money is out there. It is disgusting. And if we just took a little bit of that money and we put it to building this thing, now we've got an ecosystem of our own. It has to be too big to fail because we don't want to be subject to them saying, shut us down, whatever it might be. But in its purest form, it becomes a community of like-minded individuals who are going to have the capacity of shifting the conversation and pushing the dial and making some real changes. And in community, supporting one another in their creative efforts. Talked about the creative way. I've talked about how AI can facilitate essentially anything that is required as far as tools to express yourself, from a CAD program for a designer, an architect, building a bridge, building anything, packaging. They use CAD everywhere, to word processing, a client management, whatever it is. They're building this stuff and they're basically, I'll end with this. There's a commercial with, golly, I got to think of who it is. And he basically is saying, it's Idris. Idris. And he basically, he's got an agent, he's got an agent, he's got an agent, she's got an agent, and basically setting up all this environment in the workplace where everyone has basically an AI staff working for them. Cool, that's great. But I want you to understand this is an iteration along the way. This is just a moment in time, and it's going to change. Okay? Think, for example, as an analogy, of how if you're of a certain age, but I guess everybody, the older you are, the more experienced you are, and how many different mobile phones you've had or seen. My grandmother told me she had a phone on the wall that you took off. Esther, I need to talk to Larry down the street. So that's 100-year spread between then and now and what I'm doing here. So just think of AI similarly and how it's going to evolve. So all these agents are helping everybody do their job more efficiently. Great. But it's only a piece of the puzzle. There's a lot more to it. And as I said at the top, the technological inevitabilities that are rushing toward us. It is time. Okay. PPS, whatever the appropriate. In so doing and moving the dial, I want to be clear about one thing, and that is that we have a voice. We do not need to accept what has been or what's going on right now. And I believe that part of our community is predicated on seeing a better future, because the trajectory we're on, as far as our public debate and the way our politics and our society in global terms is existing and heading toward, is something that no sane person should be happy or comfortable with. Sure, there may be things in my narrow lane that, it works for me. I get to go to the country club. My bills are getting paid. My clients are okay. Everybody's got their own burden to bear, and no one gives a shit about mine. But I'm not talking about my burden. I'm talking about our collective burden. So we've got a great year coming. I am so excited. I know at times it can be overwhelming, but you care. I care. We care. And no one has to do it alone. So we help each other. This is part of my contribution to the collective effort. Folks, you get to choose who you are. Never let anyone tell you differently. You get to decide. And in the immortal words of Charles Schultz, it's fun to have fun, but you've got to know how, which is what we aims for around here. Because I know in self be true. Opportunity, it lay everywhere. Steal like Picasso, folks. In our community at Labella B, we are reclaiming our sovereignty. Decentralized, democratized, where aligned individuals collaborate to create a world worthy of our children. Information can be found at labellab.com. It's time to take action, folks. No one will do it for us. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. We're not asking for permission. We're not asking for favor. We are doing it. And you are invited to join the party. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, comment. Be well. God bless. Peace.